We begin today's show in Gaza, where repeated Israeli attacks have killed nearly 100 Palestinians and wounded over 200 since a Trump-backed ceasefire deal went into effect over a week ago. On Friday, Israeli military forces opened fire at a civilian bus, killing 11 members of a Palestinian family attempting to return home into Gaza City. Among the Abu Shaban family victims were 7 children between the ages of 5 and 13, an attack many have decried as the deadliest truce violation yet. Israel also bombed the headquarters of the Palestine Media Production Company in central Gaza, killing the broadcast engineer Ahmed Abu Matar. Israel accused Hamas of killing 2 Israeli soldiers in Rafah, but Hamas says there are reports the soldiers died when their bulldozer ran over unexploded ordnance and that they're not active in Rafah. Gaza officials report Israel's breached the fragile U.S. brokered agreement some 80 times. Despite the wave of Israeli strikes this weekend, President Trump said the ceasefire is still in place. Israel's also continued to hinder the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza, again suspending the entrance of aid over the weekend. But Israeli officials are now saying aid distribution in Gaza and the ceasefire have resumed. This all comes as more Palestinians recently released from Israeli prisons have described torture while in Israeli jails. In a minute, we'll be joined by Al Jazeera reporter Ibrahim al-Khalili, who reunited with his brother Mohammed last week after Mohammed was released following 19 months in Israeli prison. This is his report on Al Jazeera, his brother held without charge.
He's my brother. He's back after 1 year and 7 months in detention, in Israeli detention after torture. We got detained with each other, but now I got released, and now after 1 year and 7 months, he's back again home.
Mohammed, how was the situation in prison after they detained you?
It was a big struggle. We were beaten and humiliated in wrong ways. We suffered a lot.
My brother is so tired. He needs to be back home again. But I can now say the war has really came to an end.
Last month, Al Jazeera reporter Ibrahim al-Khalili was on air when he broke the news of Israeli forces killing his own family members in Gaza.
I'm here today reporting from Gaza's Al-Daraj neighborhood east of Gaza City, where deadly Israeli airstrike flattened this complete residential block behind me. Many Palestinians have been confirmed killed, and at least 50 Palestinians are still trapped under the rubble. Tragically, many of my close relatives were among those killed in this airstrike. It came without any prior warning at midnight while people slept. This block used to shelter at least 100 Palestinians, and they sought refuge here, believing that this residential neighborhood is safe, but they ended up being targeted and brutally killed. This area once meant to be a place of refuge for many Palestinian families now has become a site of death and massive destruction. It has turned into a mass graveyard for Palestinians in the light of the unprecedented escalation of Israeli attacks targeting towers, residential blocks, and shelter schools, killing many Palestinians and leaving thousands with nowhere to run. Ibrahim al-Khalili, Al Jazeera, Gaza City, Palestine.
We now go to Gaza, where Al Jazeera reporter Ibrahim al-Khalili is joining us from Al-Shifa Hospital. Ibrahim, welcome to Democracy Now! I want to start with your first report. I watched it live on Al Jazeera when you reunited with your brother. Talk about why he was jailed, how long he was jailed.
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. My brother Mohammed, the oldest brother in my family, was detained on the 18th of March 2024 around the Shifa medical complex where my family used to live. So that day, the Israeli military stormed a Shifa hospital at midnight without any prior warning, and loudspeakers started saying, "Don't move. The area is under extreme siege. Don't move. The army is operating in your area, and just basically don't move." I was with my whole family inside my house at that time. So the Israeli military in the morning after midnight, they stormed my house, and then they took us all out, forced us into the freezing cold, and we were forcibly stripped of our clothes in the freezing weather after interrogation and torture and harsh circumstances. In that harsh weather, I was released, but my brother Muhammad was detained, and since that day, during that time, we did not know anything about his whereabouts. So he was detained by the Israeli military. When the Israeli military operation assault on a Shifa medical complex came to an end, we returned back to our homes to find nothing. We have not found my brother Muhammad or the house even standing. So after 19 months in Israeli detention, my brother Muhammad got released, and we met up in Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. And this is a very historic moment for us, the Palestinians, and for my family in particular, to have my brother back after 19 months in Israeli jails. As I talked to my brother Muhammad, he's tired now. He was telling me he was under extreme torture and interrogation and harsh circumstances in Israeli prisons. He lost almost 30 kilos. He was almost 100 kilograms, but his weight dropped to 70 kilograms during the 19 months of detention. So this tells the whole story about the torture, interrogation, and the extreme harsh conditions all Palestinians go through in the Israeli prisons. They go well, and they just release with a unhealthy, whether mentally or physically. So we are all lucky now to have my brother Muhammad back home to his 4 beautiful children and his wife, who have been waiting for him for so long. And the sense of relief and joy, happiness inside the family prevailed after they got their loved ones, Muhammad, back home after 19 months in Israeli detention. So this is a historic moment, not for me in particular. We're talking about 1,700 prisoners were released, and that after the ceasefire took effect, and now these families are happy, and they expressed a lot of joy to have their loved ones back to Gaza City after spending years under severe and harsh conditions in Israeli jails. And the situation for other prisoners who are still remain trapped inside Israeli prisons are very dire. Let's just focus on these and mention these to our viewers, that the Palestinian prisoners are enduring harsh realities in terms of the lack of basic necessities. As I talked to my brother Muhammad, he was having just 2 meals a day, and they are not sufficient, and they are not high in proteins to help these Palestinian prisoners survive the next day. And yes, the situation remains dire. Whether for the released Palestinians, they endured a lot of harsh memories in Israeli jails that last for them even after they got released from Israeli prisons. And we just focus on the Palestinian prisoners who are still held in detention. And worth mentioning to remind our viewers that my brother Muhammad was held without any charge. He was not affiliated to any political group whatsoever. So they detained him without any legal reason. for him to be detained by the Israeli military and to endure all what he has been through during the 19 months in Israeli prison. These are the harsh realities Palestinian prisoners face during their time of detention in Israeli prisons. And I talked to many prisoners, and I filmed with a prisoner who just was released after the ceasefire and the war have ended. He came back home to find his family members all wiped out of civil registry. 400 family members of that prisoner were killed in Israel's war, and many stories, as well as another prisoner who's Mahmoud Abu Ful, who got his legs amputated previously before the war, and he was detained in Kamal Adwan hospital, and after interrogation and torture, he lost sight. He can't see in his both eyes after the torture that he has endured in Israeli prisons. And as we continue to speak with many prisoners, the same story repeats itself of torture and circumstances and lack of basic necessities. This is the harsh reality that we Palestinians all go through. Even me, when I was detained, they claimed that I belong to a political group, which is not true, and the serious allegations and accusations against us Palestinians, and we are ordinary civilians living in Gaza City, and they still accuse us of something we don't belong to. They just make accusations about us so that they can just create some sort of an environment or a reason to detain us and torture us in very harsh conditions and circumstances. And the situation also remains dire in Gaza City. Government media office states that Israel committed 47 breach, and Israel is breaching the ceasefire multiple times. Like we're talking about 47 times when Israel committed a violation in the ceasefire, and this is something we also endure. Like yesterday, Israeli military targeted different sites and locations here in Gaza City, and many families who returned to Gaza City after the first phase of the ceasefire took effect. They found nothing but rubble. They returned to a wasteland, and them seeing that Israel resumed or violate the ceasefire yesterday and started to hit different sites and locations. One of the targeted sites were in southeast Gaza City, where 11 family members were targeted without any sort of warning. The Israeli military should have just issued warning to these families, like you are, for example, being in a dangerous zone, but instead they ended up being targeted and brutally killed. Another attack in Zawaida area, south of the Gaza Strip, at least 3 Palestinians were killed in a coffee shop without any prior warning. This is a serious violation for a ceasefire for us to witness as Palestinians. And like many people have believed that the war has really come to an end, but with these violations that are being committed by the Israeli military on daily basis, creates a sense of uncertainty for hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who wished once that the war will end and they come back to their homeland and the areas they once called home. And we're talking about the destruction of much of Gaza's residential neighborhoods. And these neighborhoods are not just the loss of property, they represent the loss of memories and the homeland, which thousands of Palestinians once called home, but they returned to find nothing but rubble and violations and the lack of basic necessities to help these families who return to Gaza City to survive the next day. The situation is getting much more dire. The war has not really ended for hundreds of thousands of Palestinians who are still struggling to survive the next day with the lack of basic necessities and the restrictions imposed on Gaza's border crossings, whether to get the medical supplies and basic necessities, food, water, and whatsoever. At the same time, Israeli military continues to restrict the borders for patients. Hundreds of patients are waiting for Gaza's border crossings to be opened and reopened again so that they can get the proper medication they urgently need. As I talk to doctors, medicine and medical equipment are not even available in Gaza to just conduct such operations for chronic diseases patients. So they need the borders to be open again so that they can survive and get the urgent treatment they need abroad. And we have talked about this many times about the restrictions of the borders to allow aid in to Gaza City. Like before the war, Gaza needed at least 500 trucks worth of food and medicine to help support the population in the Gaza Strip.
Ibrahim, I just wanted to end by asking you, some prisoners were released, 1,700 in Gaza, to learn that their families had been killed, as you described. Then there were others who were told that their families were killed in Israeli prison and found them alive. I wanted to refer to Shadi Abu Sido, who said Gaza is now gone when he came out of the bus, shouting to the cameras in the southern city of Khan Yunis. It's like a scene from Judgment Day, he said, of the destruction. Shadi Abu Sido said his world shattered in Israeli detention when guards told him his wife and 2 children had been killed in the Gaza war. Reuters reports he said, I heard her voice. I heard the voice of my children. I was astonished. It cannot be explained. They were alive. I saw my wife and children alive. Imagine amidst death, life. He said about prison, it was the graveyard of the living. The journalists who've gotten out and the journalists who have died. If you can comment, most recently, this Palestine media production company, just yesterday, where a broadcast engineer was killed in yet another Israeli strike after the ceasefire went into effect and this production company's offices were bombed.
Yeah. These are one of the methods Israeli military and Israeli army uses to just retain the prisoners. For example, not just Abu Sido, who was told that his family was wiped out and Gaza has been completely destroyed, but my brother Muhammad was told the same thing. The Israeli military told him that your family was killed. But in fact, we were still alive in Gaza City. And he told him that your brother Ibrahim, that your youngest brother Ibrahim was killed. And these are the methods used to torture psychologically the prisoners. So many methods, not just these rumors and lies that the Israeli military uses to just torture Palestinians psychologically. And yeah, many of them. And when Muhammad came out, he found out that his family was alive. He told me that, listen, I was worried about you, for you to be killed in Israel's war on Gaza. And yeah, as I said, many methods. And Muhammad just shared a testimony, a harrowing testimony about the Israeli prisons that I can't mention because many methods that human beings can't bear to go through. And this is the Israeli military, what they are using to torture whether prisoners or the people who endured 2 years of Israel's war on Gaza, of Israel's assault on the Gaza Strip, and we continue to endure. And let me say that these prisoners are still like bearing the brunt of years and days of torture in Israeli prisons. They told them lies that your families were completely wiped out of civil registry, and now they came back home to find their families alive. They were shocked for them to being told that your family is alive after the Israeli military claimed that your family was killed. And one of the things that the Israeli military told my brother, that they told him, we destroyed your company. Muhammad used to have a company in Gaza City related to the detergent and warehousing supplies, and they show him on camera that your company has been completely destroyed. And these are the missiles they use just to tell us Palestinians that we are going to destroy you, or we have already destroyed you. The situation remains dire. Even after the ceasefire took effect, one of the BMB media company was targeted in Zawaida area, south of Gaza City, and he was working with us. He was a cameraman. He has kids, but he ended up being targeted. He thought that he survived 2 years of Israel's war on Gaza, but when Israeli military just breached and violate the ceasefire agreement, he was taken away. He was killed in cold blood.
Ibrahim al-Khalili, I want to thank you so much for taking this time with us as you stand outside Al-Shifa Hospital. Ibrahim is an Al Jazeera reporter based in Gaza. He just reunited with his brother, Mohammed, who was released from Israeli detention. He'd been held without charge in an Israeli jail for 19 months, as so many of the 1,700 Palestinian prisoners were who were released to Gaza. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.